we reject any suggestion of a clash of civilizations. Belief in permanent religious war is the misguided refuge of extremists who cannot build or create anything, and therefore peddle only fanaticism and hate. And it is no exaggeration to say that humanity's future depends on us uniting against those who would divide us along the fault lines of tribe or sect, race or religion.
All right, folks, welcome back. The president speaking last week at the United Nations, and also speaking at the United Nations was the new president of the state of Iraq, and he had some news, and the news wasn't good, especially for those in New York and elsewhere that have subway systems. Nicholas Casale, former Director of Counterterrorism for New York City's Metropolitan Transit Authority, or the MTA, and founder of Casale and Associates, joins us. Hello, sir. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming in. Okay. The news from the Prime Minister of Iraq last week was that there's a plot to disrupt or blow up or do whatever to New York City subways and subways elsewhere in the world, subway systems, metros, whatever you want to call them. And this caught people off guard and by surprise. Before we get to some other issues that are related, is this something that is new? Is this something that you believe is legitimate? How concerned should people be?
Well, I think there was some question of the authenticity of the source of the attack, and that may have faded. But independent of that, the fact is that we're at a state of war. The fact is that New York City is the #1 terrorist target, and transportation is their favorite way of targeting terrorism. So when we realize that, it really doesn't matter if it was timely, founded, or not founded. We have to be prepared. And the question is, how long do we stay at a heightened sense of readiness? We saw recent attacks in transportation systems. 97 and then again in 2009, attacks were foiled that were going to target the New York City subway system. We've seen an increase in patrols by both New York and New Jersey at airports, bridges and tunnels, and subway and rail facilities. So yes, it is always a potential target when we know that 250 terrorist attacks occurred in the last 10 years at transportation facilities.
All right, with regards to New York, the mayor and the police commissioner were quick to come out and say that, especially the mayor, there's no specific threat. You know, it's rush hour. This was rush hour on that same day. People have no reason to fear. They're safe, etc. But Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, has such a checkered past, and you could explain more so as to why this is. He does not have a security clearance from the United States government to receive classified information. This is the mayor of the city, who, as you put it, is probably the #1 terrorist target in the world, and the mayor doesn't have a security clearance. What is that about?
Well, that's outrageous, first of all. I mean, it's beyond comprehension. The fact is that national security apparatus, whether it's the Joint Terrorist Task Force, the FBI, or other entities, routinely brief the police commissioner. The police commissioner has representatives embedded in their organizations. The fact is that should something occur, or just the planning stage, the deployment stage, the police commissioner is precluded from sharing this information with the chief executive of the city of New York. So you'd have to ask the question, why? People have said it was his trip to Cuba, his support of Nicaraguan citizens, right? Yeah. So, I mean, one could argue that's a little historic. He's matured since then, or at least he takes his fiduciary responsibility as mayor of the city of New York more seriously. However, the New York papers just reported another scandal, and that's his wife, who we call the First Lady of the city of New York.
Yeah, and her chief of staff.
Right. Her name is Nordlinger.
That's the chief of staff, Rachel Nordlinger, 43 years old, and she's been in a relationship with a Hassam McFarland since for 4 years, and he has a terrible past.
Right. I mean, he's been involved in a homicide. He's a drug dealer, alleged drug dealer, but he's a convicted felon. So, I mean, and she attends, the chief of staff, Norlinger, she attends police department briefings. I mean, it's
conflict of interest at the very minimum.
That conflict of interest has nothing to do with it. This is, you know, an absolute breach of potential security. And I can see why, not only do I see why the government won't, or we don't know if they won't give the mayor clearance because he hasn't applied for clearance yet. But I should.
Well, isn't there a name change involved too? He'd have to put down his different name. I mean, he wasn't originally born Bill de Blasio, I don't think.
Well, that's true, but neither was Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think that that's the end all. What I think here is that it shows a pattern of consistent bad thinking when it comes to association with criminality or supporting, or not even supporting, not taking an affirmative stance against.
Yeah.
You know, a New York City police officer cannot associate with a known felon.
Yeah, no, but that is interesting. So why on earth should the chief of staff to the mayor's wife, who has an office in City Hall, she's not just sitting home as the mayor's wife, why should she be allowed to? All right, very interesting, lots to think about there, and I don't know if it would have made a difference if the people realized this when they elected him because there was such a small turnout to begin with. But great to see you, sir.
Good to
Thank
see you
We'll
again.
Speak to you again. Nicholas Casale, ladies and gentlemen, former Director of Counterterrorism for New York's MTA. And we'll be back with more of the Malzberg panel to talk about all of this. But first, more, what could you do to prevent skin cancer? Well, here's board-certified dermatologist Dr. Stephen Shapiro.
You're watching Max to Health.
Basking in the sun can be fun and give you a golden tan, but dermatologists recommend that you always wear lotion and take extra precaution in the summer.
It's very important that people get tested for skin cancer. And the way that you get checked with a complete skin exam, and that should be done once a year. The best time is in the summertime with the summer sun. In the summertime, I consider that fertilizer that stimulates the skin cancers and precancers to come to the surface. So the best time to get checked, if you do not have a history of skin cancer, is once a year in the summertime. If you have a history of skin cancer, you should get checked every 6 months. If you have a history of melanoma, you should get checked every 3 months for the first year and every 6 months after that.
Do a self-exam of your skin. Learn the pattern of moles, blemishes, freckles, and other marks on your body so that you can discuss those with your doctor. I'm Hannah Ostapchuk.
Get more health news at newsmaxhealth.com.